and welcome everyone to Dine with the Divine. As always, I'm your host Ashley, and we're going to be talking about the magical, the mystical, and everything in between. So, on today's episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about Jesus' mama and Our Lady of Guadalupe. So, I hope everyone is having an absolutely fantastic week, and if you're not, I really hope it gets better soon. So, today we have a fantastic guest, our new friend of the pod, Dom. So Dom is a spiritual advisor and practitioner of folk Catholicism, and plant magic. They're also an author, psychic, medium, and hopefully I say this right, Guadalupana. And they are the queer Catholic mystic. His mission is to help his clients improve their lives, heal the earth, and elevate society by working in service of God and the good spirits. And with each offering, he empowers his clients to work alongside with the spirits to achieve their goals and live a good life. Dom, how are you doing today?
I am so good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good too. I wanted to ask you, first and foremost, what brought you to this work?
Oh, God. I that's the answer. I have no idea. Every day I wake up and think that, like, oh God, I kind of tripped and stumbled and fell and rolled my way here, but I'm here. Generally, spirituality has been a very important part of my life through childhood. I did Catholic school and Catholic church and the whole shebang, all the sacraments and the whole 9 yards, or I guess 7 as it were. And God, from there, I went through a lot. I think it's really common, queer people coming into their sexuality, especially around teenage years. I was like, no, fuck Catholicism, fuck the church. And not gonna lie, it's still fuck the church. Like, I have just went on such a winding road to circle back to folk Catholicism. And it's hilarious to me because it was in front of my face the entire time.
Wow. I think it's so interesting. I'm not a queer person, but I feel that same, not the same obviously, but the same kind of sentiment I went through. I feel like when I love history obviously, but when I started learning things, I was like, why am I worshiping this white man's God? Like, I was like, this is crazy.
That part.
I was like, wow, I'm really just furthering the trauma of my ancestors by going to church. This is crazy.
Just perpetuating it.
Exactly. I was like, this is really wild. But similarly, I feel like eventually I was just like, yeah, like, fuck the institution. But like, Jesus.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jesus didn't create the institution. It's not his fault. Yeah, he was up in the clouds with like Sky Daddy way before this whole thing started to be written out. Like, he had no point. Like, he had no part in this mess. So I can't really blame him for it. Fair, right? Like, because he seemed really nice. So why am I mad at him? I always I see your content. I really enjoy it. And I think it's so interesting that like this institution, and I've now gotten to talk to a lot of people who identify as folk Catholics, and this institution that has been used to, and like everyone I know is either a part of the LGBTQ community or a brown person. It's like this, this institution that like was meant to kind of oppress us and our ancestors. Yeah. And now like people are just like turning it around and really finding their own path of spirituality in it. And I just think that's so awesome.
That's like the crux of my work, both on and offline. That's the whole thing. I didn't realize, and this is part of what I mean when I stumbled to get here, is I didn't realize what I was providing for people. I was just like talking about Catholicism on the internet. And this started back when I was on Tumblr. So I've been doing this for a minute.
Okay. Yeah. Tumblr, yes.
And thank God that Tumblr is now deactivated. I'm not going to say the name. I don't want anybody to find it. If you know, you know, keep it to yourself. But I was talking about more or less even processing through my own experience of readapting to the folk Catholicism I was raised with. And through that, a lot of people found, you know, healing or community or something else for it. And I don't claim to be a healer because that's not my label. I don't like it. But there has been like immense healing in it, especially for, like you said, queer or brown people, anybody who really holds a marginalized identity that is further marginalized by Catholicism or just like mainstream Christianity generally. I also get a lot of people who were raised Protestant or in other denominations that come and they're like, Catholicism, it's so magic. And I'm like, yes, but also it's still just Jesus. So like, take a breath. It's okay. Especially on the internet, because I'm friends with a lot of the folk Catholics. I love their content. I'll always share a picture of St. Michael when I see it. It's cute. Light some candles by him. I appreciate the aesthetic. But I'm also like, this is not the universal nor average experience of Catholicism. And as someone who has fallen asleep in church for decades, I don't know how mystical and magical regular church is. It honestly is what you put into it, but what isn't. So like online people are kind of perpetually like, I also noticed that there's a higher rate of this when people come from Protestantism or a very like neo-Christian. I keep wanting to say pantheon, but that's literally not it. There's a better word. I can't get it. Fill it in for yourself. People that come from a background that isn't strictly Catholicism and that aren't really tied to ritual or like speaking in tongues or anything like that end up seeing this as like really mystical and wonderful. And like there are aspects to it that are, the process of mass is a ritual. It's a very old ritual. And so like I can't fault people for seeing that and saying, wow, Catholic is magic. And I've even perpetrated this notion of Catholicism is Christian witchcraft. And as I've developed, I've taken a more nuanced approach on it. I don't disagree with that statement, but I also don't agree with I think it really depends. And I think one of the beautiful things about being a folk practitioner is that you get to have a very nuanced lens, if you choose to look through it, into Catholicism, Christianity, both the kind that you may or may not have been raised with, as well as just the ones around you and the things that you can perceive. And I think having a real opportunity to see in more nuanced shades provides a lot of clarity. And I think that's the primary I offer people in work and in the shit posting I do on the internet. It's like, it's gotten me in trouble a little bit, but it's fine. I like to talk my shit.
And you should. You're good at it. Yeah, please. I know. Don't let these people hold you down. I love that. I totally agree with you. So I always say, and I've said it before probably on this podcast, I'm like, Catholicism is the most magical Christianity or magic. Now, I kind of feel the same way as you. I also am like a little bit more nuanced about it now too, because I'm like, okay, it isn't actual magic. Like same. I'm like, everybody relax, calm down. Let's talk about this. Like, for them, it's not magic. And you're kind of saying like everything is about intention and what you want to do with it. Yeah. My grandma was going to church all the time and she wasn't like, I'm about to go do some magic. No, she's like, I'm about to. Yeah, she never thought that. She was like, I'm going to receive the body of Christ. I'm going to drink it and I'm going to say some hymns and like, we're good to go. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the way I always looked at it later on in my life, I always say my favorite thing was midnight mass on Christmas. Yeah. Yes, that is like the most, to me, magical. And I say that because of the ritual. No,
that's peak Catholic mysticism, especially Roman Catholic mysticism. It doesn't get higher than midnight mass.
There we go. That's the peak. Give me some of that good frankincense wafting over my nose. I know. I'm there. I'm literally kissing Christ. I'm like I'm like somewhere. So yeah, but again, the mystical part of it, I find that also, okay, one of my best friends, she's very Catholic, not super Catholic, but I would say she's about a 7 because she's like super, super liberal, but also she wants you to know she loves Jesus, and that's no problem. But she is my favorite example of somebody who later in her life, like she reached more into the mysticism of it, but she's still very Catholic. Like that's, but she, like, when we talk now, like some of the things I would say, she's like, Ashley, you know what's crazy? I think God is everywhere, like in nature. I was like, yes, I've been telling you
bro.
this for years. I know. I was like,
Right.
I was like, I've been trying to explain this to you. Just like, she's like, that shit is wild, right? I was like, I know, it's great. Don't you feel so good? So it's like, it's just a different, there's so many different ways to look at it. And with folk Catholicism, and depending on where people are from or where they're coming from, I'm also going to infuse my own traditions, my own community into my practice, which is something that, traditionally the Catholic Church was not about. And they're still not about it, but we can do whatever we want out here. Like, they're not going to tell us what to do. So, yeah.
I love, and I completely agree. I first of all love that even to talk about being Catholic, there has to be this like, not that Catholic.
Yeah.
Hold on.
You have to like, I know, and not to interrupt you, but I always talk about my friend, and like, I always want people to understand, like, she's not one of the like crazy ones. I'm like, no, she's super great. Like, we go to marches.
Promise.
Yeah, I was like, we've gone to many a women's march. Like, we're all about like pro-choice, LGBTQ community. I want everyone to know she's cool. Like, she's cool.
This is literally how I talk about Mary. Like, literally. Like even down to pro-choice.
I know. We have to make, because people think like a traditional strict Catholic, and they're like, oh, they hate gay people and they hate abortion, and it's, I mean, yeah, but like not the cool ones. Like, some of them are cool.
Oh man, that's such a hard position to defend, and
Yes.
I am always a little salty that I'm gonna have to die on this hill of like, son of a bitch. I don't want to, but like, I promise they're not all bad. Like, even some churches, especially in this region, I'm in like the Southwest, I'm in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a very heavy like Mexican influence, very like Chicano, very like Mexican American.
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes a lot of synchronicity. And so a lot of the big basilicas around here, especially for Our Lady of Guadalupe's feast day, which is December 12th, they will have the Aztec dancers and stuff that will come and give offerings and things. That also happens at her basilica in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
So there is room, I think, which I find interesting. I have to constantly, especially because I am a Guadalupana, or a devotee of Our Lady of Guadalupe, like two-sided coin of her as a cultural icon and a tool of colonization, because she like quite literally is. And I don't think we get into that enough. Tends to be one side or the other. And I always feel so bad. A lot of people come to me asking about like, how do I start a mystic Marian devotion? What do I do? I want to develop a relationship with Mary, Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I'm like, oh God, how do I tell you everything sucks, but you have to consume it all and then digest it? If you go to YouTube and look up Our Lady of Guadalupe's story, you're going to get 10 to 20 immediate, like, horrible things. They're going to be awful. There's terrible. I think the most viewed one, and I promise I have walked through all of them. I have wasted so much of my life consuming this content. But I think there's benefit to it. The most popular one is the darkest fucking story I think I have ever heard. And it's very, Mary came to teach the poor, stupid Indians. And I'm like, can you chill? And they literally will say shit like that unabashedly with all the gall in the world. They're like, oh yeah, we had to teach them. So the church and the monks and Our Lady came personally to like, I'm like, she came to enslave people? That's not very Mary of her, but okay. And yet, isn't it also Mary of her? The Spanish literally marched into Mexico with her on banners. So like, she's quite literally on both sides. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with that, but it's something that rattles around in my brain all the time. And I have such empathy and compassion for the struggle of trying to have this devotion to Mary, or otherwise trying to reconnect to her or even other Catholic saints, but I'll keep it focused. Because there's so much muck and bullshit to sift through. There is so much garbage out there, and it's so loud. One of Guadalupe's primary, it's not technically an epithet because she's not a deity, but isn't it, is patroness of the unborn. And I'm like, how do I fucking grapple with that as like an avidly your body, your choice person?
Yeah.
And it just like radiates.
It's so crazy. And this is, I got in an argument the other day with, not argument, but a talk with somebody I know who's very, very, not Catholic, but they're very religious and will not stop telling everybody, which is another subject for another day because that pissed me off. But I always say, like, a lot of these stories and things are written by people to skew the political situation or whatever at the time. There's even verses in the Bible, and a lot of people point to all those rules, like all those weird rules, and I think it's in Leviticus, where they're like, you shouldn't wear clothes that have mixed fibers. And people are like, yeah. And I'm like, no, wait. But like, let's historically, you shouldn't shave your beard. There's all these things that people write and say, but a lot of the things that they're written and that are written were written for a reason. People said, don't get tattoos. Don't get tattoos. But back then, the only way like the people, the Hebrews, could identify each other was because they didn't have tattoos, but the other factions did. Then you look at different saints and their story, and then you look at like Our Lady of Guadalupe, and you say, okay, there's cool things about this story, but also I see how some of it has been turned to be like, see, you poor, dumb indigenous people, see why you should follow her. And it's like, is that really how it went? Or like, are you just interpreting it that way to make people feel a certain way? So I see that, like you said, with like a lot of the saints. Like they were saying basically like, look, this person turned from paganism because paganists are bad. And I'm like, that's,
right.
Yeah, I was like, that's not really the point of this story. Like, but, and it's also like I always think it's interesting when it's like, see, this person believed in Jesus and then they were fine. And okay, but like, also they could have believed in someone else and they were fine. And this brings me to my ultimate point that I was talking about again the other day with somebody else I know. We were like, our coworker is always like, I just can't wait for so-and-so to be saved. And I just can't. And I'm like, look, I don't need to be saved. Jesus has been with me the whole time. He don't have to save me. He's already been with me. Where are you saving?
Right.
Yeah. Like, where am I getting saved from? Like, I'm not killing people. So what is he saving me from? I'm confused. Like, he's been with me. We're
literally.
Yeah, we're friends. We're great. Like, me and him, we've been rolling my whole life. Like, so I'm all right. Like, whether or not I believe it the way you believe it, it doesn't actually matter. Because if I have my own spiritual devotion, whether it's with Christ or not,
yeah, I'm
good. Like, don't,
literally.
Yeah, I don't need to be saved. If you need to be saved, awesome. So happy for you. That's great. But I don't need to be saved. I'm all right. Sorry, that's my rant about. I'm okay.
No, I completely understand. And I think this idea of being saved in Christ and Christ being the only way is a really prominent thought and something that has to be unpacked, I think, really deeply and many times to get anywhere with it.
Oh, ain't that the truth? Because, and it all has to do with, and again, we could go on it forever. We're not going to go on it forever, but like again, even with like translations and like things like I wasn't there when Christ said the stuff he said. I wish I was there because that would have been awesome. Like, right? So cool.
Taking notes. I need a chisel to sit down at the bottom of the mount. I want to hear this sermon firsthand.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to have some of that fish and bread. Be like, let me check this out.
Like, how did the wine taste? That's my question.
Exactly. What did it taste like? And I want to see Lazarus come back from the dead because holy shit, I would run outside screaming. Y'all see this shit? This is crazy.
Honestly, yeah, I would be converted too.
Exactly, me too. I'd be like, this guy, yeah, I'll follow him wherever he goes. It's no problem. But like, there's stuff with translations. There's biases with, like, for instance, King James. Like, it's very widely known that King James was most likely gay. Pretty much it's confirmed. And he was like, I hate myself because I'm gay. So he wrote all this stuff to try to make it sound like the whole Sodom and Gomorrah thing was about gay people, but it probably was not.
Like, I think something that's really helpful is taking those stories like Sodom and Gomorrah and all of the other anti-queer LGBTQ sentiments and things that are thrown and taking them from a different approach. I found a lot of help in listening to like biblical scholars unpack it, and I'm talking not from a Bible scholars.
Yes.
Nothing wrong. You know, I'm not even going to qualify that. I said what I said. You
Yeah.
don't have to go listen. No, please listen. Also rate and review.
You're so funny. No, I'm with you there. The having like actual people like archaeologists and like linguists, like that's who I want to fucking hear from.
Literally, I found a lot of interest, and it's preliminary because it's YouTube, but the channel Religion for Breakfast is really enjoyable to me.
Okay.
They do a lot of this. I'm going to unpack this anthropologically. We're going to use science. We're going to translate it back to Hebrew and just check the work.
Yeah. Yes.
And like part of that, one of the videos, and I'm misquoting it. Go find it yourself. You have hands. Go. You go. He was talking about Sodom and Gomorrah and how this wasn't about being queer. This was about being inhospitable, not treating your guests correctly, which
Not
is
being
like,
rude. I know.
literally. And he's like, this happened in like the Mediterranean. That hospitality shit doesn't stop at the border. It's the culture.
I know. Like, first of all, if you ever meet somebody from the Mediterranean, Italian or Greek, I live in a heavily Italian area. They're very, very hospitable people.
You're getting fed.
You're getting fed as soon as you walk in the house. They're offering you food. They're offering you drinks. Like, that's their whole culture, is to be kind and offer you stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure it was a big point of contention in the Bible. They're like, hey, by the way, don't be rude to your guests. Be a good host.
Literally?
Yeah.
Don't give up your guests to be sexually assaulted. Can you not? How did you turn this about being gay? What? Like, how? I don't know how we got there, but somehow we're here. I'm not the only one who stumbled and tripped and fallen. I just fell better.
Exactly. It's like, what happened here? I feel like a lot of the translations, I know a lot of translations are like that. And people don't want to look into that at all. They're like, no, but that's what I heard. It's like, yeah, but did you ever see what people actually are talking about when it really talks about that? And half the time, and I remember we had Sarah, she's a Christian witch, and she does a lot of studying with the Bible, but she was talking about how like biblical literacy is so low. And it's true. Like most people who are, who are claim Christianity, a lot of them they don't understand certain verses in the Bible. They're just like, I assume that's what it means. It's like, yeah, bro, but and not everybody wants to be like into this kind of thing. We obviously are, but like not everybody cares.
I'm like hiding my face.
I know, like
who's that?
It's like not everybody gives a shit, but like when I give a shit because I hear about all the rules and I'm like, tell me where the rule comes from. I want to understand.
Literally.
And a lot of times, like anthropologists and stuff, there's certain rules, and like I can't quote any of this because I'm not that good at it, but there's even rules and things people tell people to do, especially like Orthodox Jewish people, and a lot of the different rituals they have. A lot of it was like cleanliness, so you don't get sick. It wasn't just religious. No, I'm trying to make sure all of you guys, don't die from the various diseases that at this point,
literally,
we don't have cures for yet. It made sense.
Like a big Mediterranean religion thing.
Yeah,
I like get hyper fixated on it as it like. I think like holy water now is the like great grandchild of that.
Yes.
And I'm always interested tracing this lineage back to like, wow, how come salt and water? Because you're dirty and you stink and you're about to sit in a room with a billion other people. Take a bath. When you say it like that, it makes sense.
Exactly. It seemed like for Islam, but when they wash their feet before they go into the mosque, it's like maybe just don't smell. Maybe they just want to be clean.
Literally.
They want to be clean for God and for each other. And I think that's great. Why not? Like, I think everyone should be clean for each other and for the Lord. It's not an issue. Please. And on that note, we're going to talk about...
If you want to talk to God, you have to wash your ass. Sorry.
Yeah, like, come on, though. You don't want to have dingleberries when you're, like, praying, because I feel like your prayer is not going to be as pronounced. Like,
I would be so overwhelmed to be a deity and, like, oh, God, they're praying to me, but I know there's poop on their butt. Oh, God. I would have a meltdown. I'm so sorry for Jesus. Oh, man.
Jesus can't even concentrate because he's just like, bro,
That's why your prayer didn't get answered.
Bro, sis, I'm gonna need you, fam. I'm gonna need you to clean your butt. Like, I'm just like, I can't sit with you here like this. Like, so. Oh no. I love that you said to be a deity. I'd be so overwhelmed. It's true. I constantly think about like, God's stressed. Like, oh, there's so much to worry about.
Sometimes I like think about saying prayers before going to bed, and I'm like, you know what? Good night, God. Rest. You deserve it. Like, you're working hard, I think.
So I'll think about like, man, like people in Ukraine, people in Palestine, and people in Haiti, and all the places. Yeah. And then I'm like, damn, I'm out here being like, God, you think you could help me save up some money? I want to get a new car this year. Like, I'm like, God don't have time for me right now. I'm like, let me shut up. God, thank you for my health and my family and my car that works, so it's fine. And my job, thank you.
Literally. I love that, like, within the context of prayer, and, like, I think, especially when we're talking about it being received by God, that, like, all of these things can be held and received. I assume respectfully and in a very nuanced way, but maybe that's just because I still have Catholic brain rot and I think Sky Daddy's benevolent, but here I am. I might change that opinion, but I'll let you know. We'll do another episode.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also a very, and I don't even know if it's a very, I don't know what it is thing. Maybe it could just be my family. I've been so ingrained my whole life. Like when we would pray, it's you always give your gratitude first. You do not ask for anything until you tell God all the things that you have that you are grateful for, and you thank him for all the things. Then at the end, if you're like, I'm so sorry, real quick, small request. Like when you have time.
I have this vivid memory of being a child and my grandma teaching me how to say prayers before bedtime. Mm-hmm. And she was like, it's like a letter you have to say, or she like literally had a formula that she passed down of like, you're going to say the Apostles' Creed, then an Our Father, then a Hail Mary, and then a this, and then you get to say your prayers. Yeah. And then you say goodnight. And I'm like, okay, Grandma. Sometimes I share these things and I'm like, oh my God, autism is genetic.
First of all, that's a lot of prayers to remember. So good for you.
I know. I was the highlight of Catholic school. I was the only one who knew all my prayers. On my shoulder for all time.
I had training.
Like, sure for you. I knew my prayers or some shit.
I love that.
I need a merch design on my desk Monday. You hear that, listeners? Somebody's an artist out there.
I know. Oh my God. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, this is good. So we're going to go to our next section because we could go on about this forever, and we might.
Yeah, stop me.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Me too. I could talk about this forever. And we might talk about it again at some point because we have to. So I was like, I asked you what you like to eat, and one of the things you said you like to eat was crispy tofu.
Oh. Yeah. Damn, I forgot what I wrote.
I know, that's okay.
Shit, good for me.
I know, good for you, because I was like, okay, this is cute. Let's find a crispy tofu recipe. This is a crispy tofu stir fry. Let's see what we got in here. We got some firm tofu. Great. It has to be extra firm, apparently, for this. 2 scallions, a shallot, 5, of course, as always, I'm going to put the recipe in the show notes. Don't worry if you want to make this. It seems really easy. Garlic, a jalapeno, some dried chili peppers, sesame seeds, flour, vegetable oil, broccoli. And then you make a sauce. So you get some kimchi paste. If you don't have kimchi paste, yeah, I'm sure maybe you could go to a Korean supermarket. You'll find it. Don't worry. If you don't never heard of kimchi
paste right now.
Yeah. Most people listen to this podcast have probably heard of kimchi, but maybe there's one person who's like, I never heard of it. Don't worry about it. Like rice vinegar, soy sauce, oyster sauce, hoisin sauce, honey or maple syrup, water, sesame seed oil, cornstarch, and then some chili oil or chili crisp. Okay. So then and then all the instructions are here. You drain the tofu, you clean it up, put something heavy on top of it to press down on the moisture, get the water out. Then you're going to add it to your bowl. You're going to heat some vegetable oil or some grapeseed oil. Okay, grapeseed oil, excuse me, fancy. That sounds expensive. You don't have to use that.
Right, just use some canola. It's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, grapeseed oil sounds like it costs money. We don't do that around here. Just use some canola or some olive. I'm sure you'll be all right. These people are fancy. These people shop at Whole Foods exclusively. Let's see. Then you're going to put your sauce together. Basically, you're going to fry up the tofu basically a little bit. And you're going to make it all nice and crispy. Then put on your sauce. That's basically it. But it's a really easy recipe and it's really cute. It sounds like really, really good. Who doesn't like some tofu?
Right.
Okay.
That's like not far from how I regularly eat tofu. I forgot what I wrote.
Yeah.
I was fully prepared to be like, oh, we're going to talk about green chili. And I'm like, why did you mention green chili? I don't remember.
That's no problem. That was
While
perfect.
we're here
Yes.
for tofu, here's my tip. And you can 50% thank TikTok for this. Freeze when you're ready to use it, boil it. And it's going to have like okay, backing up. You're going to freeze it, and as the water expands and turns to ice, it's going to shred the inside of it, like from a cellular level out. So when you boil it, it's going to like leach out way more water without needing to press it or anything. And when you bread it, starch is your friend. Tapioca starch makes for a really, really crunchy exterior, but it can kind of fuck up your teeth. So if you got like dental work, go with cornstarch. Okay. Maybe even potato. I don't really know. I don't really know. Like, I don't have a culinary degree. I don't know how starches work. Also, let me tell you how starches work.
It's fine. I'm the same way. I'll like learn one thing and I'm like, this is how you do it. And then at the end, I'm like, actually, don't listen to anything I said because I probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But I don't know. Like, I felt really good in the moment. So I just wanted to tell you about that. Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay. So that's our dish of the week.
Hey, everybody. So I'm going to use our quick break today to plug another show that I absolutely love. If you haven't heard of this podcast, you're missing out. So if you haven't ever listened to Otherworldly Oracle, it's a fantastic podcast that I definitely recommend, especially if you love spirituality. You got some deep research in there, and the two wonderful hosts, Alora and Kitty. It is a fantastic podcast. I've actually used their podcast a couple times to research for this podcast. So I love it, especially if you listen to our Frau Berchta episode that we did with Hex Marie. They did fantastic research about Frau Berchta and Frau Holaf. Anyway, here's a little synopsis of the podcast. The Otherworldly Oracle official podcast is a Burning Hollows production hosted by two pagan witches, Alora and Kitty, whose main goal in life is to educate kindred witch folk on all things magical. So, if that sounds interesting to you, I'm going to put the link in the show notes for this show. And please go and listen to them. They're fantastic, and they're both just generally very nice. All right, back to the show.
We're going to go to our next section. So later on, we're going to talk about Our Lady of Guadalupe because I honestly didn't know much about it and I'm very excited that I learned something. But the first thing we're going to talk about, we're going to have like a little tea time. So we're going to talk about the many manifestations of our favorite Virgin Mom, Mary.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Because let me tell you something. I didn't know Mary really be popping up all over the place. Like,
Literally everywhere.
Just sometimes she's just like, hey guys, by the way. And everyone's like, what's happening? Like,
casually stopping the sun in the sky or some shit. Just
I know.
Hey.
Causing like eclipses. I'm like, Mary, what are you doing? Oh my God.
Yeah. How can you tell me that Mary stopped the fucking sun in the sky, but also she's not a goddess? Like, eat ass. Get the fuck out of here. I'm fucking tired of being gaslit by the Catholic Church. I am so tired of it. It can't happen both ways. She can't control the sky and the heavens and the earth and the dead and everything else and not just be like, just say she's like the fourth part of the Trinity. You already did the fucking mental gymnastics of making one person two people at once. So like, why can't she be up there? That's misogyny.
100%. That's the whole reason, right? Is because she's a girl. Like, that's the whole reason. It's like they're like, she did all this shit, but she a girl. So screw murderer. Like, what? Oh my God. I'm like, that's the way she's already like deified everywhere, basically, but we just can't say it. People worship Mary too. So it's like, what are we doing here?
Again, file this under being gaslit by the Catholic Church. They will literally be like, no, we venerate Mary. We give our veneration to her. But also, her prayer is the second most popular prayer. And the second one, you need to know maybe 3 or 4 prayers to be a participating Catholic in Mass.
Yes.
The rest, you just got to stand and kneel. And you can take your cues from the oldest woman in
Yeah.
France. Like, you'll be fine. And yet we're still like, Mary isn't relevant. Mary isn't shit. But also, Mommy, can you help?
I know, exactly. We're praying to her constantly. Like, and yeah, I know, because it's like, it's so weird. I feel like growing up and like hearing this story of like Christmas, basically, it's like, I feel like in the beginning, I was always like, okay, so like Mary was a vessel for like Jesus to come through. Like, cool. But then that's not the case, because we don't look at her as just a vessel. And I don't think she was, but I'm just saying, like, that's how it was always presented to me. It was like, yes, Mary was a virgin and she had a baby. And I was like, cool. All right, that's wild, but like, okay, cool. Like, but then,
oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that's fun. But then they're like, yeah, but she's Marian. This is a big deal. And I'm like, okay, like you're saying, it's like it either is a big deal or it isn't. Because like Joseph was his stepdad, but we don't really care that much about him. Like we don't have
unless you're Italian, then he's your main homie, and I respect it, but like I don't know.
Same.
I don't get it. Maybe because I have daddy issues. I don't know. I have a complicated relationship to men, so Saint Joseph is like,
I know. But like, okay, Saint Joseph, again, that's fine if you love Saint Joseph, and I'm not saying anything bad about him, but I am saying like, But what was his role other than being just like Jesus's earthly dad? It was like he just hung out with Jesus sometimes. It was like, let me teach you how to be a carpenter, like, which is fine. Like, he taught him a trade. That's great. Joseph, good dude. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but just like,
honestly, if you read the non-canonical stories of Jesus as a baby, that man deserves to be a saint. That was a badass kid.
He was so bad. He was so bad.
He murdered somebody and brought him back to prove point. And
he was so bad. Can I tell you something? Oh my God, first of all, when I found out Jesus was just like throwing kids off roofs, I was like, what? I was like, he just knocked a kid off a roof one time and he died. But then he was just like, and then he was like, hold up, let me show you how I'm actually the Son of God. Kid, wake up. And then the kid woke up.
Dude, only after he got in trouble. Only after. Not even just for like fun playtime. This child would have been dead if Joseph was not like, what the fuck? And at the same time, Jesus is like, fuck you, you're not my dad. Just like, yes, give that man a halo. Give him his flowers. He deserves it. He put up with that shit.
The non-canonical Bible is chaos.
Literally, I love it. Especially as doing a lot of this work to try and unpack Mary, you have to go to extra canonical and non-canonical sources. One of my go-to for genuine or general Marian devotion is Surah Miriam or Surah 19, because it literally tells the story of her parents asking God for a miraculous baby, and Mary was the miraculous baby. And I'm like, so first of all,
so
she literally paved the way for Jesus, but did the same thing. Fine, we'll give him the credit.
It's just, I encourage everybody, if you are interested in any of this, find a non-canonical like source of, just read some of it. Listen, I'm no scholar at all, but when I read some of the stories, I'm like, it's absolute madness. And then you see why, like, our friend Constantine was like, we got to organize this shit because there's a lot going on. He said he got together a whole bunch of people and was like, we need to have a whole council because this is chaos. I don't know what order to put this in. I don't know what's going on. People are going to India. People are here. People are killing kids. We don't know what's going on in this book. How do we get the Jesus part together? Because this is absolutely crazy.
Literally. Wish actually would have put it together better.
I know.
That's fine. You can tell. They told the same story twice. Let me just say this. The Bible is a bad book. The Bible is a bad book. Have you read the Bible? That's why people don't have biblical literacy. That shit sucks. That's a slog. Me tell you, the first fucking 3 chapters are like, and the son of so-and-so who planted corn. And I'm like, thank you for this beautiful genealogy. This doesn't apply to me. I live in Colorado.
I know.
They're not my cousins. I don't care about this. Where's the magic man?
So-and-so who begot so-and-so who begot so-and-so who begot. So you're like, oh my God. I didn't ask for that. Oh, you're not wrong, though. You're not wrong. It's a lot. First of all, the way the story is told is sometimes ass backwards. We're going back and forth through stories. I'm like, what's this is not a good timeline. And the problem too is it was written by many different people, and I think they said in the span of like 30 or 40 years, a lot of these books were written. So some of these were like, yeah, I was there, and some people are like, I heard. They're telling the story of like
literally. The New Testament is particularly worse about it. I always mess them up, so don't tell the nun that taught me in Catholic school. Okay? Matthew, I think, came first, and if this is wrong, switch the order. I'm dyslexic, you asshole. Matthew came first and wrote his story and was like, hey, the Romans, the people that are colonizing this area, put Jesus to death. And somehow through the grapevine, we get to the last book and they're like, actually, the Jews did it. So be anti-Semitic. Also, buy the King James Bible. And he's like, how the fuck do we get that? How do you tell the same story twice, first of all, in the same book?
Exactly.
As like a book critic, which like I tout myself an amateur book critic. I don't care. I would roast them to shit for writing the same story twice and trying to pass it off. That's like literally being in middle school and trying to like copy and paste your essay and double it to make it longer. It's just not going to fly. How dumb do you think we are? And yet,
I know. My thing to do in school was like, write in conclusion. That was my favorite thing. In conclusion, and just rewrite everything I wrote because that's the last paragraph. But in the Bible, they did that, but they changed the story. And you're like, huh?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? I read this different the first time. What are you talking about? Oh my God. Yeah, the Bible is a lot. But yes, everybody, sorry about my coughing. If everybody, I encourage you to all find the books that have been left out of the Bible, non-canonical sources of the Bible. It's very interesting, and you'll read it. You'll be like, what the fuck? And you'll be like, that's what they were talking about. This shit is wild. And you'll understand.
Literally.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. This is your new wormhole. Okay. So first things first, we talked about saints a while ago, but just know that the Catholic Church, they have processes and rules. Everybody already knows that. That's not anything that's a surprise. If you have a Marian apparition that you see the Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, the Catholic Church, they're coming and they're sending their investigators. They have a team. The Catholic Church has many different types of people, and I talked about this before. They have special exorcism college there. It's fascinating. You got to apply. It's like a whole situation, but they have a team, and they'll send the team over to be like, what's going on here? And depending on what happened with the apparition, then it's approved or not approved. So there are many non-approved apparitions where the Catholic Church is, we don't think it, not even that they don't think it was real, but like they just don't know what it was. And then there's different ways of approving it. One way is that a miracle happened. Another way is that so many damn people saw it. They just can't say that it didn't happen because mad people saw it. There was like 1,000 people there. Yeah. It's literally, there was like mad people there. So the whole town was there, so they're like, I guess it happened because the whole town is saying that happened. These are some of the ones I'm reading are the ones that were approved, and these are like some of the more popular ones that people know. But there's tons of and then also to note, which I think is very interesting. Usually when it comes to like Marian apparitions and saints and stuff, it's usually just the Catholic Church that has this kind of stuff. The Eastern Orthodox Church sometimes has not really saints, but people who they're like, yeah, they were super cool. They have that. But there's actually 3 apparitions, and I think they all happen in Egypt, that the Coptic Church actually recognizes as true Marian apparitions, which I thought was
I
interesting.
love the Coptic Church. God bless the Coptics.
I
God bless the
love it.
Ethiopian Church. God bless them.
I love the Coptic Church. I feel like it's the Catholic Church on steroids. And it's just cooler. Their outfits are cooler.
Literally.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's even more like ritualistic, and I'm like, God,
Right?
this is so cool. Yeah. It's in the desert, which makes it even cooler and feel like more authentic. I hope that doesn't sound weird, but it just sounds cool.
Vague Orientalism, but like
Yeah, I know.
also
Sorry.
how nice would it be to be in warm sand?
Exactly. Like, I hope I didn't offend anybody by saying that. Like, I didn't mean to. If I did, I apologize. It just seems
It's
cool.
also just a fact. The Coptic Church is great. And
Yeah.
like, honestly, fight me.
Exactly. It's just really neat. We have a Coptic church not too far from where I live. So it's so funny, like every Egyptian person I know from growing up goes to that same church. So every time we meet an Egyptian person, I'm like, you go to that church? They're like, yep. I was like, you're awesome. Okay. We have the first one, because we're going to talk about Our Lady of Guadalupe in a minute, but we're going to talk about these other ones first. So the first one we have is Our Lady of Lourdes. So this happened in the French town of Lourdes. This is a popular spot for pilgrimage. A lot of people have done it. My friend, who I was talking about, my friend Jillian. Hey, Jillian. Hey, girl. She went there and she was like doing a thing where she would wash feet for people at the Lourdes. And she was like, it was just absolutely amazing experience for her. This happened in 1858. And she appeared to a 14-year-old girl. And she was telling them to return to God, to pray the rosary. She's always trying to get everyone to pray the rosary, which is fine because the rosary is really cool. And there's like magical ways to pray the rosary. There's many books written about that. And in this case, she called herself the Immaculate Conception. She also helped Saint Bernadette, who's now a saint, discover a healing spring that was in the waters of the town. And hundreds of people now, they pilgrim there. They go there to experience healing and pray and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. The other one that's really popular is Our Lady of Fatima. Mary appeared 6 times to 3 young shepherd children in 1917 in Fatima, Portugal. She urgently called for people to return to God and once again keep praying the rosary. She really wants us to pray the rosary. And it's fine. Keep going. You should do it. Our Lady of Mount Carmel. So the Carmel monastic order, which is actually located in Israel, is particularly devoted to Mary because in the 1200s, this guy named Saint Simon Stock received a vision of Mary and the brown scapular. So a scapular is worn around the neck underneath clothing and consists of 2 small pieces of brown wool connected with a cord. And it signifies the wearer's devotion now to Mary and her pledge of protection. Our Lady of Grace, there's like every church in the world, every town has a church of Our Lady of Grace. Mary appeared as Our Lady of Grace in 1830 to Saint Catherine Labouré in Paris, and she revealed the image of the miraculous medal which promised special graces to anyone who wears it. She also gave this prayer to be included on the medal, "O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us who have recourse to thee." And then Our Lady of Knock. So a lot of these happened in the 1800s. In 1879, everybody in the 1800s was seeing Mary. Okay, she was busy.
God, I always wonder if this is like a Marian apparition, if it's directly related to some kind of greater societal anxiety. Like a lot of these are like, is this because some gigantic war was happening? Are you guys good? Mary often has a lot of like, there's like a series of Marian apparitions or just like big Mary things that happen around like big wars, like World War II or something else. Like the consecration of Russia was like a really big thing, I think, at some fucking point. After some big ass war, I don't know.
That's a really good point. That makes sense. And especially this apparition in these cases then brings the community together to like, whether it's we got to build a church or we all got to pray or we all see this thing and it's going to help us in those times of struggle and strife. And 1879, I think the potato famine was still going on in Ireland. And there was still like a lot of problems in Ireland and people were leaving. So that would make a lot of sense. I never thought about that. That's such a good point.
I love that, like, equally with the potato famine, which wasn't a famine.
Yeah. I should have stopped calling it that because it actually wasn't.
Good.
Yeah.
I think it's also just like what people are going to know it by. So like at some point we have to like call it.
Yeah,
like,
formerly
oh,
known
shit, what
as
was I
the
gonna say?
potato famine. We'll call it that. Yeah.
The artist formerly known as. I love that she comes to people who are actively facing persecution or colonization so repeatedly and becomes, like, in some cases, a face of the church coming and taking over.
Yes.
But also, like, creates this gigantic space for people to find safety and comfort. And, like, she comes at these times because she offers so much hope and faith.
Yes.
And I think, like, spiritually, that's, like, what's going on. I also think the, like, pray the rosary thing is low-key some, like, Catholic propaganda. And they're like, and she said to pray the rosary and pay tithes to the church. And I'm like, that's suspect, but okay.
I know, she's very specific. Like, oh, she wants us to play the rosary again? She's like, that's what she said. She definitely said that.
I swear, I heard her. Do you want to deny her?
I know. Exactly. You guys are saying this fake?
Gaslit by the church.
Exactly. That makes again a lot of sense. Dom, you're smart.
Thank you.
Yes. No, your thought processes, I'm here with you. I like them. Yes.
I flip my hair, but it's actually wrapped up, so I can't flip it.
You're spiritually flipping your hair. It's no problem. Yes, in 1879, she appeared to the small town of Knock. So at least 15 people saw her, and they all stood in the rain and prayed. Oh, it was cold. They stood in the rain and prayed with the rosary again. No problem. It's the only Marian apparition without a verbal message, but her silent message of peace and comfort radiated onto the people. Very sweet. Then there is Our Lady of Guadalupe. To date, this is the only approved Marian apparition on the continent of Africa, and it was in Kabiho, Rwanda. And this happened in between 1981 and 1989. Mary appeared 3 times to 3 children, and her message was to pray the rosary daily. She also foretold of an impending tragedy, and so a lot of people believe that the tragedy she spoke of was the Rwandan genocide, which happened in 1994, which was only 5 years later. While this may be true, it's important to remember that Mary said, if I'm coming here, it doesn't mean that my message is only for Rwanda. So this is apparently what she said to the people. If I'm coming here, it doesn't mean that my message is only for Rwanda or just for Africa, but it's for the entire world. So that's interesting.
How did she only appear in the entire continent in only one
place?
The biggest continent on the world, and she only appeared in one place and said, this counts for all of them.
I know.
Like, excuse me?
Exactly. But again, it was the only Vatican-approved one. So I think...
Suspect.
Yeah, very sus. She's probably been other places. It's just the Vatican was like, we don't, There weren't enough people who saw this, or she didn't do nothing. And honestly, for this one, she appeared through people. It's always 3 kids. Like, cool. I'm glad these kids are together and not wandering alone. But also, what's going on? Also, I think it's interesting that, like, she was in Africa and then just like, oh, you guys, something bad's going to happen. I'm like, yeah, we know something. You guys love to predict bad shit for us. Like, geez, not Mary. I'm not insulting her. I'm just saying,
no, insult her. She is always bringing bad news. She can take it. It's the truth.
Like, why
you didn't want to bring
news?
Doom and gloom? Don't bring it.
Why did it have to be bad news? Damn.
It's always bad news, but pray the rosary, though.
I know. Yeah, she's like, pray the rosary. It's going to be fine. And we're like, oh, okay. All right. I'm going to try to pronounce this town. Our Lady of Medjugorje. I think Medjugorje, because the Y is usually... Okay, anyway. So it's a Slavic thing. Mary first appeared to... Now there's 6 kids. 3 times 2. Now it's 6. In 1981, in the small town of Medjugorje in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So she encouraged us to pray, fast, read the Bible, confess, and the Eucharist. I'm like, damn, now it's getting more specific. The Eucharist too? And confess. Let's not go into that.
Mary always comes with some propaganda.
Like
I think you have to, like, really turn on your discerning brain to engage with these to, like...
Yes.
Now, is that, like, a maternal divinity coming to comfort the people who are suffering atrocities?
Yeah.
Or is that, like, an organization telling you what to do?
You
decide.
That's what I'm saying. And plus, when she I'm confessed. I'm like, she didn't say that.
Please.
She didn't say that. I know my girl didn't say that because confession is sus. I'm like, she didn't say that.
I remember hating confession, and I always thought, like, oh, this priest is so dumb. He didn't give me enough prayers. Because he would come in and like, say 3 Hail Marys, and I'm like, it's not a cure-all, you ass.
I was supposed to, but I never went to confession. Yeah, because my thought process is like, by the time I got properly confirmed or whatever, I was like a teenager, but my parents never signed me up for CCD, right? Anyway, don't worry about it. So I was like in my late teens and I was like, wait a minute. So I thought my whole life, my parents always told me, if you need something, if you've done something wrong, you just pray to God and tell him you're sorry if you're actually sorry. And I was like, bet, like, that sounds fine. I can do that. And I did. And it seems fine. I was like, I've gotten this. Yeah, I was like, he knows when I'm sorry. He knows when I was being super petty and I'm really sorry about that. And sometimes I'm not. So I don't apologize for those. So then when they told me like, oh, no, you have to go tell this dude and he's going to tell you to say certain prayers. I was like, I have a direct line to my God. I don't know which ones you guys are talking to. I was like, but my man, we chat. Like, we chat constantly, and he knows my heart. I'm not going to tell I'm not going to tell some random guy my problems or, like, what I think I did wrong. And then I always used to be like, what the Catholic Church thinks I did wrong and what I think I did wrong are two different things. Like,
literally.
Yeah. So,
I did the whole thing because it was apparently important to somebody. But I was doing my first communion and taking classes for it for a solid year when I think I was, like, 8. And so I'm like, what the fuck is an 8-year-old gonna confess to? I think I was mean to my mom. Sorry, but she probably deserved it. Little Dominic was on it, and I fully trust him. He was correct. She was probably being a bitch, and I called it. I don't think Jesus is mad at me.
I know.
Like, my Jesus, my child pushing Jesus?
Yeah. Not that one. He's not mad. And he's like, okay, Dom, like, chill, but, like, also, like, it's all right. Oh, my God. So another one is Our Lady of Good Help. So Our Lady of Good Help is in Champion, Wisconsin. And this is the only church-approved apparition site in the United States. So Mary appeared to Adelaide Breese in 1859, asking her to pray for the conversion of sinners and teach the nearby children the Catholic faith. Oh, I know. Oh, gosh. Okay. And our next one is Our Lady of Akita. And Our Lady of Akita, this happened on the 56th anniversary of the final apparition of Our Lady of Fatima in 1973. She appeared to St. Agnes Sasagawa in Akita, Japan. And her message was for the world to repent and then pray the rosary some more. Okay, no problem.
Why does that seem just like, yeah, honestly, sure.
I
Yeah.
know, like, okay.
Why not at this point? Sure.
Exactly. Whatever we want to do. Okay. So now we're going to get to our story of the hour. Your girl, Dom, Our Lady of Guadalupe. So, I never knew this story. I've seen the image a gazillion times. Everybody who's listening to this, you've seen it. Even if you're like, I don't think I have. Yeah, you have. You have. You've seen that lady. I'll kind of describe it. You've seen it tattooed. If you've never, if you've never seen it on a picture, you've seen it tattooed on somebody.
I probably.
Yeah. You've seen it. Somebody has a giant back tattoo of it, and you know that one guy who has a big tattoo of what you think may be Mary. It's Our Lady of Guadalupe, probably. If they have praying hands, they have her. Don't worry. It's her halo, but all around her body. She's looking down in one direction and has her hands together. You'll be able to see it. I'll put a good link in the show notes all about it. You'll be able to see the picture. So I did not know this story, and I thought, oh, this is very fascinating. So on December 9th in 1531, so this is quite a while ago, a indigenous man. Everyone kept saying Indian. I was like, I don't feel comfortable, so we're saying indigenous.
Literally.
I was like,
They're all bad. They're so
they're like
bad.
an Indian man. I was like, from India?
Like,
No? Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, I was like, we're not
Why'd
saying
you say
that.
it like that?
Exactly. He's Indian. I was like, stop. I feel attacked. And I'm not even indigenous, but I feel attacked.
The one that gets me the most is the poor Aztec man. And I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. We didn't even have time to unpack that.
We don't have time for this. I'm like, this is not safe. December 9th, 1531. An indigenous man named Juan Diego, he saw an image. So we're going to call her Our Lady during the story. So Our Lady, so a Marian apparition, like we were just talking about, while he was passing this place called Tepeyac Hill. She spoke to him in Nahuatl. And I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, but that's the way I think it's pronounced, Nahuatl, which is like...
Nahuatl's hard. Don't even worry about
it.
It's hard.
It's very hard. And like, I really am trying, I promise. But sometimes...
No, you're good.
Okay.
I can't even do it, but like, I think it's Nahuatl, and the last one is like a tongue click.
Yeah.
Instead of like,
Nahuatl. Yeah, it's something like that. It's hard. I try to watch videos on it, and then by the time I get to the story, I forget. So Nahuatl. But it's the language of who you know as the Aztecs. And we've talked about the Nahuatl people before. We talked about the actual name they use is Nahuatl, not really Aztec, but we'll talk about it later another time. Anyway, so this is the language of what you know as the Aztec people. And she told our friend Juan that she wanted an abbey built for her on this hill. So Juan was like, okay, bet. And he went to the church, like the local church, and he told them, and they were like, what? And he's like, listen, this is what happened. And they were like, shut up. You're just an indigenous man, and we don't care what you have to say. Because it's 1531. So, like, it sucks. But Our Lady was not going to give up. She came to Juan like 4 more times, and she's like, I need a shrine. And he's like, okay, I'm trying. Oh my God, nobody believes me. This is so difficult. I'm an indigenous person and it's 1531. He's like, I'm trying so hard. So she came to him 4 more times. Then Juan kept going to the bishop. And I guess the bishop even started to get annoyed because he's like, Juan, if I see you in here one more time talking about this lady. And he's like, I swear, she keeps coming to me and she would like me to get this built. So the bishop was like, okay, let's do it. But actually, what I'm going to need you to do is go to her. Next time she comes to you, I want you to ask her for a miracle, like something to a sign that this is actually like a spiritual thing happening. He's like, fine. So the next time she came, Our Lady was like, I want you to go to this hill, this place, and get some flowers and bring them to the bishop. And Juan was like, okay, it's December in Mexico. It's probably not going to work, but I'll do what you say because you are a spiritual figure coming to me and I don't know what else to do. So he goes to this place. He finds these Castilian roses. So number one, Castilian roses are from Castile in Spain. They shouldn't grow there. They shouldn't grow in Mexico. And it's
literally a Damascus rose. They named it. It's like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I didn't know.
It's like
I got
the
that wrong.
exact
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It is a Castile rose, and that's the one they say in the story conveniently.
Oh.
But that's literally directly related to, if not the exact same flower as a Damascus rose.
Oh.
And similar to Mary, they both come out of this. I hate the Middle East as a term, but I don't have something better. I think it's Turkey modern day, but
okay.
Anyway, they come from the same area and kind of transported themselves together. I'll have my thoughts after.
That's fine. That's fine. So he brings these flowers to the bishop, and the bishop is like, oh shit, this is crazy. And then they were like, okay, fine. Oh, by the way, he gathered them in his cloak. Okay, this is an important part of the story. I almost didn't mention it. So he wears this cloak called tilma. It's like a cloak that the indigenous people typically wore. So he gathered the roses in the cloak and he went to the bishop and he was like, Bishop, here are the roses. And they were like, why? How'd you get these roses? It's December. And they're like, don't worry about it. This is the roses. So when he took the roses out of his cloak, also like emblazed on his cloak was the image of Our Lady. The image that most of us are really familiar with. He didn't do it. He's like, I don't know how this happened. Like, so obviously it was a miracle. And everybody was like, oh shit, this is a miracle. So then they built the abbey that Our Lady had been asking for. So this is, like I said, this is an image that you will see everywhere, especially in Mexico. This is one of the most famous Marian apparitions in the world. Some people believe it was not the Virgin Mary that came to Juan Diego. Some people actually believe that it may have been an indigenous goddess. And there's some actual good reasons people think that. Also, side note, I don't know why two people can't be something at the same time. I've maybe said this before on here, but when I have been in my practice and I'm doing things, I have often seen the Virgin Mary in kind of one side of Isis. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that many times in my own spiritual practice. And so I'm like, and I believe that around the world that there's a lot of gods and deities and goddesses that are one kind of deity to one person, but they're the same kind of deity to the other. It's just in a different cultural context. I don't know. That's what I think. I don't know.
I agree, and I have a whole rant, but I'm trying to let you
No, tell me your rant.
We got to get through
Oh, okay. Do you want? Okay, I'll get through this part, and then you do your rant, please.
All right.
Yeah, and you can tell me all your thoughts because I know you know way more about this than I do, so it's more important. Okay, again, we're gonna have some Nahuatl names, and it's gonna be difficult for me to pronounce. I'm gonna do my best. Juan Diego, before he became baptized, I'm probably not even gonna try. I'll maybe write this down somewhere so everyone can see the name. He had a name that meant in Nahuatl his name meant he who speaks like an eagle. So this indicated that he was a very important person probably in his indigenous community. So people were like, maybe an indigenous goddess. And he also could have been a very important spiritual person in the community. So people are like, that's maybe why this goddess appeared to him. Also, Tepeyac Hill, which is where he saw Our Lady, was also the site of the Temple of Koliki, which was a place of power for a lot of the Nahuatl people and a temple for the goddess Koliki, and I'll tell you about her in a moment. The fifth time the apparition came to Juan Bernardino, who was actually Juan Diego's uncle. And Juan Bernardino, this is super interesting, was super sick from smallpox, which the fuck? Because this is the damn conquistadors who brought this freaking smallpox to the Mexican people. She came to him, she healed him, and told her true name so everyone could say it. So her true name, again, this is going to be really rough, was, you guys, I can't even say it. It's very long, but it's very interesting. But to basically, the true name that she said to Juan Bernardino, for the Spaniards, they were like, that sounds like Guadalupe. I don't know how it did, but okay. Like, it's very different. They were like, maybe that's Guadalupe? And they were very familiar with the name Guadalupe because it reminded them of the Black Madonna of Guadalupe in Extremadura, which is a place in Spain where a lot of the conquistadors came from. So this was a local saint, like, person who was worshipped in this area. The name that she gave that the Spaniards said sound like Guadalupe actually had a couple different meanings. So it could mean she who crushes the snake's head, she who comes flying from the region of light like a fiery eagle, or she who banishes those who ate us. Which I like the last one a lot. Who was, just so you know, who was Koliki? Koliki is the mother of the moon and the stars and the keeper of the sacred shrine at Kolik. She was a Nahuatl goddess. She had a really interesting story. She got pregnant by some feathers. Then her kids tried to kill her, but like, it's fine. And then, like, she gave birth.
And that's why the moon changes phase.
Exactly. Yeah. It's wild. And then she gave birth to, like, the god of war. Like, it's really cool. It's a very, very good story. And I think the god of war is the one who found the snake in its mouth on the little thing in the swamp.
Yeah, Huitzilopochtli.
Yes. Okay.
And then the eagle catching the serpent.
Yes.
I have another tangent. I'll go quick.
No, don't go quick. It's fine.
This particular myth is so well constructed that there are theories that it is literally an Aztec government, as in the nation, the empire, for them. Because, like, yeah, we all worship. And it supports just, like, the overall structure. Like, I don't know, religion often supports dominating political structures. And I think if that's happening, maybe ask a few more questions. But I just think it's so interesting to see that there's almost some generational storytelling in there to me, and this is my crackpot theory of like literally this like war god who is now the head of our pantheon for some reason. It's fine. Came out of like the earth mother, the like embodiment of the earth, Guadalupe.
Yes.
And like I think that's just like so telling of the process that happens. And I just like I have so many thoughts. They're all bouncing around and colliding. I don't know.
That's fine.
Shout out to Mom. I guess that's how I'll surmise this. And something that we mentioned earlier is the perception that Our Lady of Guadalupe is or was actually Tonatzin or Cotalicue or Huatlicue, depending on who you're talking to. She's somebody else. It's so interesting. In my personal practice, she is heavily synchronized. Oh, shit. I was going to say something else.
It's okay.
Something.
You'll think of it.
But like something I have lived by, a philosophy with Marian devotion, is that she is an embodiment of a matriarch of motherhood, of compassion, and that expands past her gender for me. But in that sense, she makes room for every other mother to be accessed. And I mean that literally. I think she is such a wonderful portal spiritually to have these discussions with your maternal ancestors, the matriarchs of your line. There are other divinities within her. Even within Catholic theology, we talk about Mary's mantle having room for everyone underneath it. But we're all under this umbrella. And in that sense, she becomes a kind of like all-mother figure to me. And like truly, I end up like viewing her as this very primordial embodiment of motherhood, just like a fractal perpetually getting smaller and more like specific to where we get apparitions, and that this apparition is a teeny tiny piece of the mosaic that is beyond all comprehension.
Speak. I know. That was a word. I love it. It's true. No, I feel that. It's very, the whole thing is, honestly, I did not know this story until like yesterday. So I was like, this is so interesting.
Wild. I was saying with the Bible earlier, and just like over time, things changing, this story is so altered and manipulated over time. If you want to read something that is, I think the oldest source we have of it, I don't know if that particularly is true, but it is really old. It's a codex from, I think, 30 years after this or something like that. But it's called the Nikan Mopua, and it has, you can find translations of it in Nahuatl, Latin, and English. That way you can see the different progressions and the translation over time. And the reason I bring it up is that you can get a lot more context for this. And the way that Juan Diego talks to Our Lady is really interesting. He calls her these names that mean like my little girl, my little flower, great mother, all of these things. And I think it really provides context for whether or not we can name this deity as firmly Guadalupe, firmly Tonatzin, Cotalicue. Juan Diego spoke to this mother in the way he spoke to his mother. And I think there's something in that. In all these Marian apparitions, I think there is equal benefit to be gained from studying the apparition and what Mary said, as well as the lives of the people she spoke to. I truly place myself in, humbly and also aggrandizingly, in lineage with these fellow people, with these saints, with these mystics who were so devoted to Our Lady that they delivered her message of compassion, of hope to the people. And I love her so much, and I forgot my original thought again, but it'll come back. I promise. It was important.
Yeah, and when it comes back, you will tell all of us because we want to hear it. That is a really good point. Looking at the people who she came to, and like,
I remember.
You remember? Tell me.
I remember.
Yeah.
We were talking about the first apparition, Our Lady of Lourdes, which is really interesting. She appeared to Saint Bernadette, who was a notoriously sickly child. And I don't know that there's an official diagnosis TM on what she had, but she was definitely disabled by the end of her life. So she had a very, very sickly life. She petitioned Our Lady for healing, and she said no. Mary said no to healing, and yet made a shrine to healing that everybody flocks to for this. And her very own patron, the person who delivered this message, never received healing. Like, she was literally sick until the day she died.
Wow.
And I'm just like deeply fascinated by that. Saint Bernadette wrote, I think it's a book now, but I think it was just like a series of poems. And you can like see that she's angry about being sick.
Mm.
She's pissed off. And like, I would be.
Yeah, it's fair.
Like, yeah,
I know.
everybody else is coming here for healing, but I am still unhealed. I still
Yeah.
suffer. And I think she literally like says, I still suffer.
Mm.
And like, it's so fascinating to me to examine all of them. And each of them, I think, offers something different. And I don't know what that is. I am not an expert, even though this is my hyperfixation. It's probably the thing I am the most expert in. But I just am so constantly in awe of it. And even with Our Lady of Mount Carmel, St. Dominic, who had the scapular, he was also in the same vision. St. Elias or St. Elijah, the prophet from the Bible, also came through in equally with Our Lady of Mount Carmel, which is interesting. Both of them were assumed into heaven, body and soul. And I've always wondered if that assumed body and soul is one of the reasons Mary has this extra worldly power to manifest and appear, because no other saint really has that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have apparitions. People see Padre Pio a lot, or St. Benedict often, but it's never quite the same. It's never on the same level.
No.
And I just think there's so many layers to this that have just been washed over with time that I almost feel like anybody who dives into this in any meaningful way is going to end up being a mystic in some capacity. This shit's wild to think about. It's insane.
It's the only way. Honestly, you just have to end up being like, I guess this is what I'm going to study for the rest of my life, because what? I don't There's so many interesting factors having to do with all these apparitions. It's very, very, very interesting. Because it's easy to just say, oh, it was just a religious thing, or oh, this person was delusional, one or the other. But like, no, there's so much like political and spiritual and ethnic and like all of these things that go. It's when all this person was just like, well, I saw Mary. No, it's so much to it. Like oh my God.
There are, and it's in the details of it all. Even the fact that we call him Juan Diego is insane.
Yeah.
Do you know why his name is Juan? Most likely because the Spanish went through the Caribbean and went through Mexico and mass baptized people and gave them the name Juan and Maria predominantly.
Interesting. I did not know that.
That's why his uncle's name is also Juan, but like...
Oh, wow!
Like, you think they all just are named Juan? No, it's literally, they were like, we're going to convert you, I dub thee Juan.
You know what's so funny? I know that happened in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Like, and I know they gave people just like, they were like, so rude. Oh my God, fuck the conquistadors and like fuck the colonizers, because they were such assholes. They would just go places and they'd be like, I can't pronounce your name, I'm gonna call you this. And it's like, what?
What pisses me off, I'm like, why the fuck were the Spanish in particular so good at this? They fucked us up so bad that we still claim their identities to this day. We're still like, I'm Latino. I literally identified as Chicano at the beginning of this practice, and that shit has layers.
Yeah.
And I just like, this is such a pervasive issue that even in different spiritual practices like Espiritismo, there are castes of spirit called Juanes y Marias that were people who were mass baptized like this. And I'm just like, people had to find healing for such traumatic things. And like,
yeah.
Oh my God, Our Lady is always part and parcel with that. And it's such a double-edged sword to read and learn more about her, because it's heartbreaking to know that this being that I'm devoted to, that I've seen so much love and compassion and healing in, was also so deeply instrumental in suffering that pervades to this very fucking day.
Yeah.
And I think in some part, Mary herself, knowing that these things were done in her name, not necessarily by her hand, but in her name, makes room for the other goddesses because of that, makes room for people. She creates shelter for the harmed and for the marginalized. And I am gonna fucking cry.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. I encourage crying anytime. It's a good expression.
It's just like so immaculately beautiful. And I guess you can take that as a pun if you want. I just, like, she has such a big heart and is so genuinely like compassionate that I genuinely break down trying to, even for a second, understand the multitudes of experiences that just are like within the glowy lady figure, like
Yeah.
just insane. And the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe is incredibly like layered. She's first of all the only Marian apparition that has appeared pregnant. We know she's pregnant because she has a bow tied around her waist, which is a callback to a Nahuatl thing, and it's partially a like Spanish colonizers trying to colonize the like visual language of these people because they probably didn't speak Spanish or Latin yet.
Yeah.
But it also creates this space, and I think this happens throughout Latin America and throughout the Caribbean, where deities are synchronized with the saint, especially in ATR diaspora and Yoruba traditions like Ifa or Santeria, where there is a deity behind this figure, but they're also using the guise of Mary, but also it's Mary, like Jesus' mom, TM.
Exactly.
And I just like, oh, she appears in readings to me. I like do a whole bunch of stuff, just like developing Marian like devotion and helping like with that. She appears and there's so many different faces to so many different people. And like, it has been just like, who is mother to you? Who is like culturally your mother? Who is like emotionally your mother? Who are you going to relate to? What kind of healing do you need in this realm that will affect your relationship with her and the way you approach her? And I just, there's something so ancient preserved in the Hail Mary to me that I just like can't put my finger on it. And it's one of the reasons that I'm such a hater on Maine sometimes. I hate so many books. So many of them are bad, but so few of them are like, specifically, this is At the Way of the Rose. There's a nugget in there of Mary is actually incredibly nuanced, and you should look at your relationships with women and like misogyny and unpack that shit. But I'm also like, please don't make it sound like fucking crazy. I just, there's some of the language about it when, especially you can tell somebody is coming at a very, I took this language from dharmic religions or Hinduism, and they're like, she's actually the divine feminine, but the Catholic divine feminine. And I'm like, oh, sweetie, no. But I totally get what you're trying to say, but you're saying it all wrong.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Gonna make this fucked, because is she divine? Yes. Is she feminine?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Like, whatever you want. I don't think she really cares, mostly because she's dead, but like, she's either dead or primordial, and either way, I'm like, gender's not on her radar, but yeah, go off.
It's
Our Lady of the Womb, sure.
It's so interesting. It's so funny how people don't even see beyond that. They're like, yeah, but she's a mom. And it's like, yeah, but like, we all have, what is a mom? What is it to you? What does it mean? A nurturer? Nurturers could be anybody. Anyone you know could be your nurturing person. Yes. Okay, cool. And I fucking hate talking about it. I never understood. It took me a lot of learning to understand like what, because before I was like, okay, whatever. I never thought too much about divine feminine because I didn't really give a shit. But like, then when I found out people had a problem with it, I had to investigate. So then I was like, what is this going on here? And I said, okay, I see. This is getting fucking weird because people kept like very into the role like that. And it's like, it's so much more than that. It's so much more than gender has nothing. When it comes to spirituality, like, these are deities. These are beings. These aren't even people. Yeah. They don't like, give seriously. A shit. Like,
exactly. You think they care about this the way you do? No,
absolutely
Why would
not.
They?
They don't care about time and they don't care about space. I'm sure they don't care about gender.
Literally, I promise they don't care. And it's so much easier to digest that in this like very comical way.
Yeah.
But, like, truly play that again if you are struggling with like being queer and like having a Marian thing going on. Like,
yes.
Replay that for yourself. Ingrain that in your brain. You're good, baby. I promise.
100%. There's I was like, when I was a kid and I would think, like, I would just think about God. And like, I would ask my dad questions. I'd be like, Dad, does God have parents? Like, when I was little, I was like 5 or 6. My dad would be like, no, God is just God. And I was like, what? I was like, so like, how did he come to be? My dad's like, he just was. I was like, what? I remember being like in kindergarten, be like, how the fuck does this work?
Literally.
Exactly.
I think like we all, so many of us, at least I won't say all, but so many of us get that of like,
Yeah.
I don't really know. And I love that the people teaching us about religion are like, I don't really actually know the answer. Are we talking about like, God, the abstract concept, or Yahweh TM? Because Yahweh has parents. Like,
Yeah.
they're written down.
Yeah, that's like a whole situation.
Literally.
I know my dad always used to be like, I remember, I think my dad was getting tired of me asking these questions. So he was like, Ashley, and I was like, he's like, listen, God, you will never get it. And once he told me that, I was like, fine. He's like, you won't get it. I don't get it, but it's happening. And I was like, okay, fair. He's like, you don't have parents. And I remember my dad, who, God bless my father, who has come very far from his homophobic past, and he is very understanding now. My dad, even then, he was like, God isn't a boy or a girl. And I was like, what? And he's like, he just is. And I was like, this shit is crazy. But then when my dad was like, no, he just was forever. So he just is whatever. And I was like, okay, I think that was like my first understanding of like queerness and like non-binary. I was like, okay, I guess you could. I was like, fine.
Oh my God. I think asking those questions is truly like the mystic's initiation.
Yeah.
He is like, yeah, ask why. Ask why until you cannot ask why anymore.
Until you just have to, and that's when I learned what faith was. He's like, you just have to believe it and just be okay with that. And I was like, fucking wild, but okay, I think I subscribe to this shit. I was like, that's fine.
I just gotta believe it. That's it. All right.
I was like, this is pretty easy. My dad was very good. He's not very into the rule part. He's like, no, I just want you to believe it because I feel like it's good for you. I was like, fine, I could do that for a while. That's no problem. Oh my God. What else is it gonna quickly mention? Oh, okay. The other thing, real quick, about Our Lady of Guadalupe. So it was seen as being very like, and you can, after the whole conversation we have just had, you can see this how you want to see it. But people saw it as like, this is wild because she came in the form of a Nahuatl woman. Like, and people were like, what? She didn't come as like a white woman. She wasn't even white anyway, but that's another story. Like, they're like, that's crazy that she came in this form. And so then the Catholic Spaniards were like, great, tell all the Nahuatl people that now they have to be Catholic because this will be good for them. This is their kind of person. So there was she was seen, and again, take this as you want to take it, she was seen as bridging a gap between the indigenous Nahuatl people and the indigenous Mexican people in general and their Catholic oppressors. And immediately after these apparitions, many indigenous Mexican people converted. And they said even at the time, in the source that I was reading this from, they said even at the time, the Catholic Church of Spain also thought she was the indigenous goddess. They were like, I don't think this would actually happen, but they were like, politically, this might be good for us. So let's just say,
right?
Yeah.
They were like doing the math. How many people left for Protestantism? Okay. Like Mary bridged the gap, but between like their fucking finances, that's the gap she bridged.
It's crazy. I was like reading it. I was like, it's so wild that even the church officials were like, yeah, it probably wasn't Mary. Definitely happened. Probably wasn't Mary though, but let's just say it was because they're coming and we're telling them about this tithe thing and they're doing it. So like,
literally, the Catholic Church is a business. And
yes.
That buku bucks. That's.
It's really wild. So they just kind of went with it. To this day, the cloak, the tilma that Juan Diego was wearing is in Mexico. You can go see it, I believe, still. So one really interesting thing is the cloaks, these tilmas that the indigenous people wore, were made of like fibers from the agave plant. And typically they only lasted for like 10 years max. Like they would start to shred apart, through wear and tear. This thing never tore apart. It just was intact to this day. You can still see it. So this is like 500 years later, almost, it's still intact. And the colors on the tilma have been studied at least what I read. They said scientists have tried to figure out like where the fuck this could have come from, if this could have been a hoax, but they can't even explain where like the blue coloring especially even came from. They're like, we don't know like how they made how someone could have done this themselves, because we can't even tell what plant or whatever, how this pigment was even made. Our Lady of Guadalupe was also seen as the kind of hero of the Mexican Revolution and is just a symbol for Mexican people around the world.
That's like been passed on through the generation, even through like the farm workers' right or strikes in the like 60s or 70s. Numbers isn't my strong suit.
That's fine.
And even down to today, she's a figure of the community. And I think especially like because she specifically appeared as like a mestiza woman or like a mixed race woman. Like she was brown, but they were like, she's kind of European, right? Don't unpack that. Nobody think about it. And so she's still this like very predominant figure in just like this community, in like my life, my like entire family. I think like culturally from the root are just like pure devotees of Our Lady. And specifically Guadalupe, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
Something was passed down here. I don't know what, but this is something. This is something older. This is something in our bones.
Yes. I think that's so interesting too, because when I was reading through stuff about it, people specifically saying, Our Lady of Guadalupe. That's what they're not saying. I understand the representation. We all get it now, but they're not saying that. They're saying, no, this. And again, if for the people who are culturally Mexican, it is so strong in them. So it does make you think she is a symbol for these people, and not just, oh yeah, we're Catholic. No. It's so much bigger. If you take anything away from this episode, everything is way bigger than you think. Even the shit that you don't like when it comes to Catholicism, this is why I love people like Dom and all of the faux Catholic people who are like really coming out now, like talking about it, because everything is bigger than it seems. Everything is fucking smoke and mirrors, and they've been trying to tell us one shit, and they didn't want us to look into it. Now we looked into it. Now they're mad.
I told you. I'm not kidding about that gaslighting shit. Exactly. I'm so like for fucking real. I know I'm really funny, but like also like no, but like for real. Like can you just pause and like, go ahead. Take a better look. Go ahead.
No, everybody investigate. Yeah, like so many. All the things, and not all the things, I shouldn't say, because that could be a complete lie. But like a lot of the things that frustrate you if you are somebody who still feels a connection. Because I find a lot of people, especially in the like spiritual, quote unquote, witchy communities, have turned away from, if they were brought up in a Christian faith or Catholicism, turned away from it because of discrimination against whoever they were, which is totally understandable, and because of trauma. Totally understandable.
A monk called me a faggot once. Literally.
What?
We don't have time. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Literally. And it was after like a series of microaggressions. This was when I was already a teenager and I was going back for confirmation. Traumatic. I've literally talked about it with my therapist so many fucking times. After that, I was like, I'm an atheist. And then I was a Wiccan for a hot minute. And then I was like, this goddess isn't my goddess.
That's fine. First of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. I know I didn't do it, but I apologize.
The empathy. I think he's dead now, so like...
It's fine, then.
Look at God.
Look at the God we serve. That's my favorite phrase. I say it all day. Ever since I find a fork when I needed a fork, I say, look at the God we serve. Because honestly, yes, screw that guy. Asshole. Did you say it was a nun?
No, it was a monk.
Oh, it was a monk.
I was a boy. Ladies weren't allowed to teach me.
Oh, that's
right,
that guy.
Dumber.
Yeah.
Which, like, honestly, I'm kind of grateful. I heard the girls' class was all about abortions and vaginas and virginity, and I'm like, that sounds like a bad time for anybody, vagina or not. Like, that sounds shitty, bro.
Nobody wants to hear about all that shit. That's stupid.
Like, get out of here.
Get out of here with that bullshit.
Tell me Mary got that old and didn't get it in once.
Hello?
You cannot, like, don't
play games with
gaslight me, Catholic Church.
Exactly. Fucking dicks. But, so a lot of people, instances like that, have had traumatic experiences, which I totally understand. But there are people who I've met and seen, and they find through their ancestry, and like you spoke about in the beginning of the podcast about finding healing and you helping people find healing through folk Catholicism, that like when they do turn back to it, not to Catholicism, but in general, the way they find their own practice, it helps them. So like, please know that if anybody is listening to this and you are doing something like that, you're processing and thinking, maybe I want to turn back to this a little bit, that you don't have to turn back to it in the way that either traumatized you or the way that you didn't fucking like it. You can you can turn back to it the way you want to. Somebody like Dom is somebody who can help you explore that. And there's tons of people out here who are exploring it for themselves, finding the healing that they need, and finding the practice that works best for them. So fuck the haters.
In that same vein, if you are trying to get back into this or dabble or dip your toes in, my advice is to pray the rosary like Mary. Pero, listen. I want you to read the prayers, digest what they're telling you, and then rewrite that in a way that serves you. I don't say the Apostles' Creed, at least not in the traditional way. I edit the Pope and the Catholic Church right out.
Good for you.
They don't need to be here. And even if that, rewrite your Hail Mary. I rewrote it because I found the Hail Mary very womb-centric and exclusive and very... It's very emblematic of the type of misogyny that Mary gets. It's very, thanks for being a womb. You were just the slide. And I'm like, that's rude as fuck. I'm praying to a goddess. I'm going to tell her she's nothing but a vessel. Like, okay, that's all right. But rewrite them to fit you. Sit and just like say that meditation over and over again and see what comes from it. I'm a firm believer in going to the spirit for answers. And I think there's so much healing in it. That's literally what I did at the beginning, and we're here now. I was straight up like, ring, ring, St. Peter, hello. Why does the church suck? Why did you do this? And he was like, one of my first experiences, I'll make it quick. One of my first experiences, very Golden Gates in vibes, glittery, very shiny, but juxtaposed to this very regal, divine energy was like this face of shame. And with this spiritual interaction, I unpacked that I don't think that the saints, the people who like truly were devoted to God and servicing the virtues of this faith, which are faith, hope, and charity, and those are just like good things to give to other people. I don't think the people who were truly in it for God, where was I going with this? Goddamn ADHD.
No, it's okay. You don't think you're talking about St. Peter feeling shame.
Turning like the church is totally optional. Even the saints don't like it, dude. Yeah. Literally, they don't even give a fuck. Yeah. Like, it's good. They'll answer prayers because they're like chill and kind of like, you know, contracted into this. That's their job. Yeah. Yeah, your waiter's going to bring you bread. It's just their job. Say thank you, but it's what they do. I don't know what you expect. Literally. No, I found the thread again.
Okay, no problem.
Go to the spirit. Go ask Mary what she thinks. See and pray to her and see if she answers your prayers. Do science. Yeah. Write it down. Try the experiment over again. Go ahead. Be a mystic. Ask why. Trial and error. All that stuff. You got it. Yes. There is love for you in the world. If it's Mary, if it's not, you'll be fine. You're not going to hell. I don't really think that's a thing. So, yeah, you're good, baby. It's fine. Take a breath. Maybe have some tea. Say a Hail Mary, and it'll be chill.
Yeah, that's it. Yes. Oh, thank you. I even feel better after you told me. Like, I don't know. Like, and I'm okay, but like, I feel better. I'm like, I feel like I just worked through something. Thank you. I feel good. Damn, that was good. That was a word. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say because I was just like, I feel so blessed by you telling me that and telling everybody that. It's facts. Like,
damn, really do like we're just prophetizing over here. Yeah, I know. Like truly, the Marian devotion, we're profiting. Pray the rosary. I did it. I literally filled all the markers. This is directly to the Catholic Church, and I've said this on the internet before, so I don't mind saying it again.
Please.
I want to be excommunicated, and then I want to be canonized in that order. And I am so not fucking with you. If this happens, I'm gonna fucking lose my shit. I want to be like literally excommunicated for being a witch and saying fuck the church. But in 100 years or some shit, when I'm answering prayers for people and their altars and churches,
Yeah.
give me my seat.
100%. Like, you get to get, we did a whole episode about being canonized, and like, you get a church, you get like medals and shit. Like, it's cool, kind of. Like,
Plant roses around mine. I don't want my church to be stinky, though. I'll
Yeah.
be pissed.
yeah.
Somebody
Don't
on the internet was like, if you were an ancestor, what are your offerings? And I'm like, I probably can't tell them to bring a blunt to the church, but also I'm not going to be mad if you plant a little like mota in the back, and that'll be fine.
that'd be
And throw some
sweet.
roses around it.
But that would be so sweet, because then people could take it, they could dry it, they could smoke it, and then they could say their prayers in communion with you while they
Yeah.
were smoking, and it would just make them feel so happy.
Oh my God, I'd be such a down folk saint. I'm going to
You'd
answer so many petitions. Like, I swear.
You would be the hardest working something. You're like, I'm getting it done. Do whatever you need.
I'm on it. Don't worry.
Oh my gosh, Dom, you're going to be a saint. I know it.
I've said it too many times. It has to manifest now.
100%, because Mary's like, yeah, he's doing like a really good job with me, so I'm gonna talk to Sky Daddy about this.
I'll put in a good word. That's also like low key the entirety of Marian devotion from a Catholic perspective is I'll put in a good word. That's like straight up the veneration aspect. I love that. I'm gonna ask his mom. It reminds me of being a kid and being like, I want to stay over. If I ask my mom, she's gonna say no, but if you ask my mom, then she'll say yes. That's how Marian devotion feels to me sometimes. And honestly, if you felt that and that resonated, go at it through an inner child thing. Be baby
Yes.
Jesus to Mary and get yourself healed. You'll probably find a therapist in the process.
Yes, you got the spiritual aspect, you got the psychological aspect. You're on the road. You're on the road.
Mary's gonna send your ass to therapy. For real.
Let me tell you, when I started doing spiritual work and working with different deities, they fuck with me so bad. They were like, girl, you have to unpack this. And I said, unpack what? And then I cried for 6 months. And then I was like, wow, I've really been in denial my whole life. This is crazy.
Literally.
Yeah, they were like, girl, you need to get your shit together. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. It's not, it's so funny. And I'm almost done. I'm so sorry.
An extra long episode. It's a bonus. You're welcome. Look, I'm a listener. I'm going to listen to this. And I need 2 hours to do my chores. So if you're me, you're welcome. I'm welcome. Let's continue.
Let's do it. It's just like, but and the most basic thing is I see all these people, especially like from TikTok and social media, people, and they're like, oh my God, like I'm getting into spirituality. This is gonna be so awesome. And I'm gonna be like doing spells. And I'm like, okay, until like your life falls apart. Like, I hope you know your life, if you do it right, your life's gonna fall apart for a minute. It's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Like, but you're like,
just pray the rosary. You'll be fine.
pray the rosary, because like you are gonna be in spiritual crisis. But like when you come out of it, you'll be literally fine. But like, people just, once you really get into it, it fucks up your life for a minute, but then when you come out of it, you're like, damn, I feel great. I feel so good. Like,
Literally.
I'm processing shit in a healthy way. Like, I've gotten rid of some of these toxic ass people and some of these toxic ass situations, because Mary, whoever your deity is, has showed me that I don't need this shit. And it's awesome. So
The heights of this cycle are worth the lows.
thank you for saying, it's so true. Honestly, like, you will feel everything that you never wanted to feel, that you thought you were over. You are over it, and it's fine. It's okay. You'll be in a good place. Oh gosh. On that note, Dom has taken us to church, and we're at the end of the service. If you're Catholic, you know it. After you
I'm pat around right now. Please leave a review.
But you know, like at the end of the service, when like everyone's taking communion and you go back to pray, and there's like this awkward time where you're like, can we go now? Like, because you don't really want to wait till the end.
Literally me being autistic, I love that you can tell when mass ends because the father goes, it's peace I offer you, it's in peace I leave you. That's literally why I took that. That's my tag now. It has been for years, and I'm like, that shit.
I wish I could just say that to people to leave a situation. In peace, I offer you in peace. In the middle of them talking to me about some
Just
shit
leave.
I don't care about. Like,
Just make the sign of the cross and leave.
Oh my God, that would be like the best thing ever. I don't care what you're talking about and I really want to go, but I want you to know that I hope the best for you.
Also, me as a folk saint.
You hearing somebody's prayer about their partner who's been cheating on them, can you make them a good partner? And you're like, in peace, I
No.
leave you, girl, because I can't fix this.
Better.
Exactly.
I can't fix stupid. I'm sorry.
This one is going to have to go in a no-go pile. Sorry about that. I need you to learn a lesson, and this is the only way. I'm so sorry.
Jesus.
Oh my God. This has been too much damn fun. You're going to have to come back and we're going to have to talk more about more shit.
I always have more shit to talk.
Great. This is so good. Tom, can you tell us where we can find you on the internet if people want to follow you and see your work and things like that?
Yeah, if you want to work with me or any of my products, or you want to talk about Mary for a long time, queercatholicmystic.com. I also have a lot of pretty pictures, and it's a really cute website. I made it myself. Thank you.
Yay!
You can find me on Instagram at Queer Catholic Mystic. I do flash readings every other week, so if you want like a discount reading, that's where you go. If you want to see me talk shit, then go to TikTok at Spirit Critic. I will probably be posting YouTube videos at some point. That's Queer Catholic Mystic also. And again, these links are probably everywhere. I think there's a link tree.
Yeah.
Like, you can find me. I'm around. Just Queer Catholic Mystic. And if it's somebody else or they got a 3 for the E's, that's probably not me.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust you knew that.
Yeah. I can't. You said I'm going to trust you knew that. Oh my God, I can't with you. Oh my God. Oh gosh, this has been, like I said, again, too much damn fun. But everybody, thank you all for being here and chatting with us about Marian devotions and colonization. Because I bet you didn't know this episode was going to go there. I know you didn't, but it did. And we're happy.
Did.
I know. You knew and I knew, but they didn't know. We
You're
got
welcome
them.
again.
Yeah, exactly. We blessed you with that one. Yeah, we did.
Anytime you're welcome is what I do. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, but everybody, thank you for being here. This is Dine with the Divine. You can find us all over the internet. Just put Dine with the Divine. You'll find me. If you don't mind, give us a rating. 5 stars is great, but it's whatever you say it with your chest. And if you have any suggestions for episodes, comments, questions, constructive critiques, or anything at all, feel free to email me at dinewiththedivine@gmail.com. And if you want to follow me, Ashley, I'm at Sankofa HS. That's SANKOF. I spelled that wrong. At Sankofa HS, SANKOFAHS, and Sankofa Healing Sanctuary on a whole bunch of places. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming, and we'll see you all next